Wanted to see if his daughter.
Easy peasy, you're
He yelled at his chair.
Yeah, like I said. Hold that and see how that. What? Okay.
Do you know you talked about?
Because I, when he second video that was Steve, and I was like.
Oh. No. Yeah. Oh, different. That's. Oh, it's. He wants to do drugs too.
Yeah.
On the dot, I will call the regular City of White Lake Council meeting for Monday, August 11th, 5:30 to order. Roll call, please.
Counselor Grimes,
Here.
Jarla. Here. Beckman.
Here.
Absent, Mayor Scott.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to read through that? Any questions, comments, anything else for that? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda as is. So we have a motion. Is there anybody that'd like to second or support that?
I'll second.
We have a second from Counselor Grams. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to the guests and speakers forum. Does anybody have anything to say?
Jake, I put you in this slot.
Here.
Yeah,
If that works.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Well, good evening, everybody. So, last council, meeting, I talked a little bit with Dave and, East Range Water Board over this last few years, wants to kind of invite you guys, if you'd like to do a site tour of the East Range Water Board expansion project, the water treatment plants and the intake structure. There's been some significant increase, or significant work done, so it'd be a good time if you guys are interested to see some of the intake sites along with the water treatment plant, which has had its precast installed. So it's kind of neat at this point, you got a little bit of, you have more of a structure, you can kind of see some of the workings. So if you guys are interested, we'd be more than happy to. Site. And Maddie Construction, which is the contractor at site, would be more than happy to pull some drawings, and so we're just gonna see if you guys are interested in coming out and taking a look at the site. I talked with Megan today on dates. They said anytime after the 20th would be preferred. At that point, there would be not as much construction activity, and a lot of the structural components will be tied in, so the site would be pretty safe to access inside the building. You can actually go inside the building and we can walk around some of the infrastructure. So anytime after the 20th, and then the first week of September, they have the roof going on, so there will be more activity during that week. So if you can shy away from that first week in September, that'd be better.
Yeah, I think I would definitely be up for doing that. I think last time it was what Sharon David that went.
Yep.
It sounded like
Winter.
winter, and it sounded like it's been a handful of months, so it sounds like we've probably done quite a bit of work since then. So I for sure would be, and I'm assuming other counselors would be too. So what would be the best way of setting that up? Just reaching out to city staff and then reaching out to you just to confirm a date, or?
Absolutely, yeah. If I can work with Tina on just solidifying that, Megan's just asking for about 48 hours notice. And so if we give them 48 hours notice, they can kind of clear some of the site stuff. And make sure that there's no intense activities that do happen. One other fun fact is, if it is the week of the 20th, the MTB rig that is drilling to the lake is actually gonna start. So if you guys are out later in the week, the 20th, 21st, or 22nd, you might be able to see some of that hog grade that would happen to the caisson structure, so.
Sounds good. So yeah, any of the counselors that would,
So the 48 hour notice would not be a problem, because if more than a quorum is going to be attending, you need to post it anyways as a meeting.
sure,
So that would give more than the 48 hours notice.
sure. So yeah, we'll hammer out the details, and if there's a quorum, then we'll make sure to post that, so it's all done correctly. But yeah, thanks for giving us the opportunity to kind of see where things are at, so, yeah, we'll let city staff know and, we'll get a hold of it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else have anything? None, we will move on to reports from staff. City Administrator Wyberg?
The only thing I would report is, we need to get some special meetings scheduled for budget from planning meetings, so the levy's due September 30th, and we just received before I came in here the template for it, so if we want to get a couple meetings on the book next week and possibly the week after, or even this week if we can. Sure.
All right, so all the counselors, look at your calendars, and then, yeah, reach out to Dean, Tammy. Just letting them know when you're able to meet and not able to meet, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Works Director Snetzinger.
Yeah, just give a quick update, as you can tell, the road project, Kennedy Drive or 110 is back open for traffic as it's been since Water Carnival. They're still continuing some work, with some utilities and laying the sod. At that time, Kensington or County Road 665, the process has started there. The temporary water service line has been hooked up. I believe it's been chlorinated. I don't know if it's been charged. Okay. So all the businesses that run off that temp water service, will be getting it off of that, then they can shut down the original water main. That's to be replaced. They'll start digging. They have to install a valve, if I remember correctly. They'll be installing a valve up on the intersection of Dorchester and 665 before they can shut down that main. And then progress will start at a Lucky 7 going north, and that's how the project will take place. From my understanding, they'll be doing it in like 1 block increments for detours of traffic, so that all residents in Colby Ridge and like Lakeview will have access to it from their homes. So just watch for detours to take place if you live in those areas. Other than that, the arena project, if many of you might have noticed, the parking lot got milled up today. That should be about 2 weeks, for that project to be wrapped up. As well as the work inside, we're expecting the bleachers, or excuse me, the boards to be delivered this week. The bleachers will be sometime in late September, early October. So everything looks like it should be done and go for hockey season. They're still doing some work around back, on the ice plant. That tie-in should be made this week from the existing floor that's already been done to the new ice plant out back. That'll be all wrapped up this week. We're finishing up some of the tree planting that was associated with the CN Railroad grant that we received for all the trees and shrubs and stuff like that. That should be wrapped up this week. We're working with the garden club on some of that. And then I have some upcoming work that we'll be doing with the snowmobile club as they've received the grant to finish work on the trail trail.
Penny, I had one question, that temporary water line, is that just service the downtown businesses, or will that serve Colby Ridge and Lakeview as well?
No, well, Josh might be able to.
Yeah, the 4 residents that are on the far west end there will be serviced, but everything else will be just regular, so we'll have to shut a valve off, so it'll just be those last 4 residents will be on the temp water line. And we're not running water line all the way up there, they're just gonna tie in to the main right by the road there with the temp water, so no houses will be, no building up most of their houses.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Kenny. Moving on to Public Utilities Staff, Benda, not quite the director, but give it up.
Yes, I don't have too much other than I've just, since Jake's been gone, just trying to pick up where he left off and, things have been going fairly well, pretty busy because we had, our other staffer, we had some vacation planned from before Jake put his notice in, so. I had a busy couple weeks, but everything went well and things are continuing to go well and I don't really have a lot to report right now, so.
Sounds good, thank you. City Attorney Lewicki, anything from you tonight?
No update.
Thank you. Moving on to reports from elected officials, Counselor Grant,
Nothing to report tonight.
Counselor Jarvela,
Dean, Jill and I attended the East Range PD board meeting tonight and they discussed the fact that they have new tasers, taser 10s now, that activate the body camera and they pull them out of the holster. They're interconnected in that fashion. And he also discussed the new policy on public records and what isn't, and records availability, how they're going to be able to charge for passing some of these records out. It's stuff that they've already done, he said, but this way they set the policy out. And I guess part of the reason was he said that the redaction of stuff on the videos could take anywhere from 3 to 6 to 8 hours for the body camera things that some things the public can get, others they can't. And it's also interagency stuff. So it's, the policy was set up to cover something that's already being done, but this way it's now in a policy and somebody says that we can't. And he said, yes, it is public policy, we can charge for this. It's about all I got.
with, and you might not know this, and that's fine, but, like if they have to redact police reports or like body cams, is that something that TIF has to do? Or?
Basically, in-house.
So yeah, a lot of work for one person to.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you for the update, Counselor Ekman.
Like Dave said, we had a public safety board meeting. We have a new officer that started on the 9th. She's pretty awesome. And then we had National Night Out on Tuesday. We ran out of food. It was a huge success and it was a lot of fun. Okay.
All right, thank you. Counselor Matson's not here. Yeah, on my end, not too much to report. But just, yeah, thank you to everyone that came out, for National Night Out, last week, and a big thank you to, Counselor Ekman for organizing. Definitely big success. Nice to see everybody coming out and, supporting each other. So that's it from me. Moving on to old business 10.1 max grade pay application number 10. In the amount of $603,859.71. So we had talked about this last council meeting. And table that we were waiting on some funding, if we were telling rightly.
No, this is the state actually, but,
Oh,
so the last pieces of paperwork I did get in, from the county and, got it submitted down to the state. Working with Brennan, I worked with him, we got the first pay app completed. Sent out again Thursday afternoon, so now it's just a matter of waiting. Has to go through their process and you should be receiving a check for about $970, I think. $975, so. I would feel comfortable with approving this pay app at this time.
okay. So yeah, we were waiting on the county to do what they needed to do to get.
That was a big amount, and I finally got it done last week and, was happy to get it submitted last week as well, so, and Brennan's been great down at the state. As far as walking through the grant process and getting this pay app in, so it's good thing.
Sounds good. So we should be having funds coming our way soon. Any other questions or points to discuss before I ask for a motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve that pay application number 10 in the amount of $603,859.71.
Make that motion.
Motion from Counselor Grams. Anybody that would like to second or support that? We have a second from Counselor Ekman. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing carried. Moving on to 10.2 Verizon land lease agreement. Do you mind speaking to this, Dean?
Yeah, so this has been on we've talked about this a couple different times, different meetings. So what he's looking for now, I just got off, he left me a lengthy voicemail here just a few minutes ago. And he you know, we're gonna negotiate a lease, assuming we're gonna negotiate a lease. The lease amount that they're proposing is in there, and this is gonna be a lengthy process, but what he's asking now is if we can at least get a resolution to approve the site plan, which is the last 2 pages of that. It wasn't really called out, so once you get, you're not doing tonight, but you, I might have to go back to planning. But once that part gets approved for the site plan, then they can move forward with the development while we negotiate a lease with them.
They discussed this side of the road before, and then said they were gonna build across.
Yeah, well, that was originally John, or whatever his name is, the cat. He talked about the 2 sites, and then when
Yeah.
Verizon actually came out, they said, no, I prefer this site. So that's,
So they're back on the.
so back on the same side of the other tower.
Oh.
I didn't bring that aerial photo, but it's, I think you have a copy of it. So it's next to the other tower, outside of the Falls Old.
Okay,
So they're originally gonna do it on the same side as the recycle.
They're
center, but
yeah.
now they're going.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's,
then we discussed,
Verizon liked this site better.
we discussed it on the other side, so that's their final.
That's, yeah, we actually laid out a little design in there. The lease part can wait. And that's gonna go back and forth, I'm sure.
so we won't do anything with the land lease agreement tonight. So yeah, you can, is that just your end, just continuing to talk with them / negotiate?
Is there anything in there,
Well, actually, Joel's gonna be involved with something here.
is there anything in there about future rental spots on the antennas?
That's part of the lease negotiation we're gonna talk about, yeah. I didn't see it in here yet, but I believe,
I didn't spend a lot of time reading it, but I did go through it, and I was just curious, is. There's something in there that at least can be renegotiated, but I understand that some of these tower leases. Look at $20,000 and $30,000 a year from now, so
So,
we're only getting 6 for the.
yeah, and
for the lease.
I did do my own little research on it. And in rural areas, that's the bottom price, like rural areas, it seems like $500 is the thing to go. Aurora sold their property, they don't have a current lease. And from what I understand is as they hang more gear off that other one, you get, like if somebody else hangs some gear on it, we get royalties or whatever. Franchise fees from that company now, I don't know if anybody here has the history behind it, but.
Cause I think that's something the city should be able to at least get into, you know, like you say, the royalty fees. If they're making that kind of money and paying us bottom dollar, we should be earning something else off of that too.
I seen, like in hypothetically downtown Minneapolis on top of the IDS, they could be getting like $15,000 a month of all the stuff on there.
Well, there's cities
The
on the
guys
range,
out in the middle of the country and they're back 40, they're probably getting like 500 or something.
there's cities on the range that have got the antennas on the water tower too.
Yeah, I can't do that. Technically, yeah. So more to come on it, but keep it moving forward, he'd like to get this approved, so then we can move more into the negotiation of the lease, and that's gonna take some time.
When do they want to start?
He didn't believe that, they wanna start the planning now, as far as the engineering stuff, but, and then they gotta come up and do groundwork testing and that kind of stuff.
So tonight more so just looking at the specs of. So that last couple pages.
Yeah.
I guess on my end, I don't see any issues.
You could approve it and then upon planning and zoning's approval, support maybe or something.
I see no issues with the location, I know there's, the 2 sites we talked about, but this is the same side as the other tower. Makes sense to have by each other's, I don't have any questions about the site itself.
I guess the big difference obviously is there's no guide wires or guide wires and it's a small footprint, it's freestanding. Like I said, once we get into the lease agreement, there's some Joel involved as well as the council.
So yeah, we can look at approving it tonight, just contingent on planning and zoning also. Approving it, or we can just send this to them and table it on our end and then have them decide and then send it back to us. Does the council have any preference on either way to go, or do we just approve it tonight and then?
I think to speed up the process, if we're okay with it, we might as well approve that our end, and then if they have issues, we can always revisit, but
Planning and zoning is next Tuesday, so.
Okay.
What's that?
We meet this week?
Next week.
Next week.
So yeah, I think that's a good decision for, and then if it doesn't have anything to do with planning and zoning, they can just let us know and then it just makes things go faster. So yeah, looking at a motion to, approve, the specs of
The site plan.
the site plan, for the Wilson Tower.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Motion from Counselor Grams, anybody that'd like to second or support that? Second from Counselor Jarvella, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to new business. Resolution 2025-020, authorizing negotiation, execution, and delivery of governmental lease purchase of a Greenmaster, Toro North. Do you have any info on this, Dean?
No, this is from the financing company, they need a resolution. This is their verbiage, so it's already,
Yeah,
it's just
approved that.
getting the paperwork done.
Was approved and I, budgeted for from what I remember last year. So this is more so just kind of,
There will be another one on in next month for Kenny's loader too, same, different financing company, but they're same procedures.
so. With that too, already approved it, budgeted for it, and so it's just kind of. Crossing the T's, dotting the I's, so looking for a motion to approve, resolution 2025-020, for the authorizing of negotiation, execution, and delivery of that governmental lease of more.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Counselor Ekman, anybody that'd like to second or support that?
I'll support.
We have a support from Counselor Grams, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.2, upgrade of 3 computers. Still on Windows 10, and then a quote from BCP was provided. Do you mind speaking a little bit to this, Steve?
So there's 3 computers, 9 10s, and you have together on the White Officer's computer that are sitting on Windows 10. It's not gonna be supported after October, and it was the budget line item to get them replaced this year. As you can see down, I made a note, there actually was 10. There's still 21,000 in the budget for technology, as well as 15,000 remaining for capital equipment. So this is currently who supports us currently, but we also reached out to get competitive bids. And find out if we, about this upgrade. So it's a 3 computers in the office, 3 to 4, 3 to 5.
And you have it in budget.
It is, yeah.
And then, yeah, I had questions earlier and I talked to Dean and Tammy about it. So there's a quote summary, and then there was optional expenses. We're not thinking that we would need the optional, pieces of what they, provided in here. So we'd be looking at, 5,110 for, the upgrades. But yeah, just been talking with staff, pretty important that they have, working computers, because, yeah, if they don't, then they can't do much of anything with, the accounting, finances, all the other stuff, related to their work, so.
Are they replacing anything in the computers?
No, I think that's the $500 some upgrade is for software. That this is just the upgrade, the computers themselves.
And that's for all 3, that 5,000.
What are the reason I'm asking is, I was told the same thing that mine, I'm a Windows 10 user. And I've got to go to an upgrade. They told me they could do the upgrade. I've got a computer guy that does a jump into my system, you just gotta go with AnyDesk. Give him the numbers and he goes in there. And the cost is nothing like this. I'm just wondering what they're doing to upgrade the computers themselves.
Yeah.
That is paying that kind of money.
This is the computers themselves.
Cause I mean, change your operating system.
It's not changing the operation, so it's a M70 Gen 5 desktop computers.
Like on page one, that third.
Yeah, I saw that.
For the 3 computers. Itself, right?
Yeah. Now, obviously, we can table this, but, it's.
Well, I'm just wondering,
Reach out, I can reach out and get some more answers to, I have some more questions now as well. On this.
cause then what do they do then with your old computers? If they're coming in with
You sit in
three?
the corner like the other old computers.
Okay, I get it.
We're involved.
Is the one
Pull the
used
hard
by
drive
the
out.
flight officer used consistently enough that it does need to have an upgrade?
Well, that's a good question.
Or, yes, because I'm still using Windows 10 also on
Yeah.
a couple of computers,
Yeah,
but it's not imperative that I upgrade them, I can work under Windows 10 for the
Without
next,
crashes.
yeah, for the next 5 years, as long as they work.
yeah, as long
But I
as,
know as far as you and Tammy, obviously you need,
yeah, I get that, but it's,
sure,
it looks like it's the whole computer. For that kind of money has been replaced.
Yeah, wow, this is the box, the computer,
Mm-hmm.
the tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're not, it's just not that Windows 10 to 11, it's everything.
No, these are all complete boxes. This is a thing.
Okay.
yeah, we do have it in the budget, I just, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Save a little money on anything, that'd be
Well-
great, but, yeah, you guys do need functioning computers.
I guess I took this, the wording as all they were gonna do was replace the Windows 10 to 11,
yeah,
and
no,
that price kinda,
this is hardware too, yeah, I know.
yeah.
If that-
So
if that's
if you're doing the hardware. That explains that one,
But like Sherry
But if
said,
you wanna-
life doesn't really need it.
yeah,
So yeah, we can table it for tonight, and then get some of those questions answered, that you would have, Dean, and then if we do need to upgrade
I
that.
think I might only get a competitive bid.
Yeah, it won't hurt to get another quote or competitive bid. just-
as long as it gets done, like I told them.
Well, I don't think the lights are gonna go out on like. first.
So yeah, we can
Don't
table
say
it.
that. Don't say so.
Why you scared? Why two?
Yeah, I remember that.
All right, so we tabled 11.2. Moving on to 11.3, hiring team, our hiring committee, light officer vacant position recommendation. So Dean, myself and Brent had met, with 4 candidates, a few weeks ago. Completed, so it was prior to our, completed interviews with 4 different folks for the light officer position. And then, went through the hiring or went through the interview process, and then we narrowed it down to, 1. So the hiring committee felt that, Tamika Defoe would be the best person for that position. She just has some pretty impressive customer service experience, experience dealing with kind of people that are frustrated, difficult people. Just kind of expressed, getting more involved in the community. And then just has some good, leadership and then, record keeping experience, which would be, beneficial for the position. Yeah, difficult choice. There was 4 good candidates, but we just felt that she was the best candidate for that position. So, so our recommendation that we hire Tamika Defoe as the blight officer.
She working anywhere else as a board officer?
She's sitting right here. She does have light officer experience, so you wanna talk to her? or introduce her?
Yeah, on Fort Carson, Colorado, I was the mayor of Village on post, and it's the same aspect. But I actually did a lot more than just light, we were in charge of community fires, community meetings, the whole 9, so. I've actually done it.
No fear of walking up and knocking on the door?
I broke once, but I'll do that.
There's no kicking down doors.
On it.
Well, you have the taser 10s now, so.
What's that?
You do have the taser 10s now.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, any other questions or points to discuss regarding that? Yeah, 4 good candidates. difficult decision, but just felt that she was the best person, for the job. Hearing no other questions or other points to discuss, I'll ask for a motion to, offer the light officer position to D'Amica Default, pending background check and then drug testing.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Counselor Ekman. Is there anybody that'd like to second or support that?
Second.
We have a second from Counselor Jarvala. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. So congratulations to Tamika,
Thank
or best of luck. But yeah, we're here to support you, and so, yeah, if you accept the position, and, we can be and,
Yeah, we'll work through it.
conduct you about.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, excited to have you jump on board. Moving on to 11.4, hiring, team public utilities director recommendations. We posted internally, we had one candidate apply, Josh Benda. So we did an interview with him, Dean, myself, and Jill, came in for an interview. Great experience in the public utilities realm, has worked for the city for a couple years. Also worked in Aurora, Gilbert, also some experience in the service. Jake had recommended that we had hired him when he explained that he was stepping down. Yeah, lots of great experience in the public utilities realm of things. So we're lucky that he had put in the offer. So it would be our recommendation to hire Josh Benda as the new public utilities director. Any other questions or points to discuss? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to accept the hiring committee's recommendation to hire Josh Benda as the new public utilities director.
So,
We have a motion from Counselor Jarvala. Is there anybody that'd like to second or support that?
Second.
We have a second from Counselor Graham. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Congratulations, Josh.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, lucky to have you with us. So then I don't know if there's any other sort of documents. things like that to go through.
there will be,
Yeah, please with Kathleen about it, so. All right, moving on to 11.4.1, posting of water wastewater operator position. So with Josh moving from his position to the public utilities director, that'll open up his position with the city. So we'll have to be doing some interviewing and hiring for a new water and wastewater plant operator. The union said that we could post it internally and externally.
Yeah. I thought I had an email in there, but
At
it's
the
not.
same time. Did you get a chance to look at the job description? And if not, that's okay.
For the utility or for this,
For, yeah, the waste or water and wastewater plant operator.
yeah, I've seen it many
Oh,
times, so.
Did you see any sort of,
Issues with it, no, I don't
and it looks like it's the same one we've had since 2023. Reading through it is not an expert in that field. I didn't see any big issues or anything that needed to be updated or changed. Any other points to discuss or any questions for that vacancy and then posting for it? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to post for the water wastewater plant operator position internally and externally at the same time.
Make
So
that.
motion from Counselor
I'll second that
Jarvala, second from Counselor Graham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.5, Shannon Sweeney, PDA, regarding the temporary financing for the water treatment project.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. In your packet, there was a letter for me outlining temporary financing for purposes of funding design of essentially the improvements necessary to connect to the East Range water system. I believe the council has previously received proposals for doing that work and considered it. Ultimately, the budget that was provided was $1,490,000 to proceed with design. indicated, that you've studied the issue, you've identified, connecting to this system as the best solution for not only being cost effective, but also providing the best water quality. And so, that being the case, they've indicated that, ultimately doing the design of the facility and getting that design certified with the Department of Health would move the project from a list at the state level with the Public Facilities Authority that just identifies and does an initial ranking of projects to projects that are in the funding cycle. And so one of the issues that I wanted to work through, and we're nearing completion on it, is ultimately understanding what our funding plan is for the entire facility. And so ultimately, we've had a couple of conversations with regard to that by me, Bolton main staff, the funding specialist and myself, and discussions with Dean as well. And the number that was arrived at Thursday of last week, I believe, or Wednesday, was $27.6 million. And that included $20.6 million of construction engineering costs associated with the treatment facility itself. $3 million for water storage improvements, and $4 million for a facility buy-in. On Friday, I was made aware that ultimately the East Range Board has a state appropriation request that they've made for $5 million that is redundant with some of these items that we have in our buy-in cost. And so ultimately, before we size our state appropriation request, I think we need to work through or have some conversations with those folks in order to coordinate on where that request is gonna come from. Because ultimately, if they were successful in securing their $5 million request, I believe that reduces or eliminates any buy-in costs that they've suggested would be implemented for the project. So want to make sure we're not asking twice and that we're efficient and are working through that process. But what I wanted to understand as we work through this funding plan is whether or not the existing programs in and of themselves would cover the complete cost of the project. And ultimately, the grant that is most important to us through the Public Facilities Authority is the Water Infrastructure Fund grant. But that is capped at $10 million. And so we can have access to loans based on our affordability calculation of about $3.3 million. Since the project exceeds $13.3 million, we should be able to qualify for all of the WIF grant at $10 million with Water Infrastructure Fund grant. And then ultimately I threw in $750,000 from the IRRB because I expect we'll make a couple of requests of them in order to participate in the project. And it serves a secondary purpose as well. But at the end of the day, I want to understand what we would have to request from the state through the appropriations process. And before Friday, it was $13,550,000. I think once we coordinate with the East Range folks, water board folks, that may go down depending on who makes that request, for essentially the buy-in costs. So, ultimately, I believe we want to have that coordinated soon. We have a window to amend the appropriation request that we already have into the state, before October. And so I think that's our goal, is to identify ultimately what our state appropriation request needs to be based on our project costs. Understand we're trying to provide some flexibility in these calculations. When we talk about water storage of $3 million, we've already evaluated a standpipe project for coating the standpipe for $1.5 million. $3 million would construct ultimately what would be a new water tower that would serve the community. Engineering staff has indicated that that would be a longer lasting solution rather than coating that existing facility. I think at this point, it's appropriate to include it as a budget number. And at the end of the day, when we have some success in the appropriation process, we can ultimately decide by the scope of the project whether we're coating a standpipe or constructing a new water tower. I think it's an option. If we can have it, we'd like to have it. But we're not promising that to you today. We're just saying we're creating some flexibility in this budget in order to hopefully be successful and be able to accomplish things that will serve our water needs for a very long period of time. So, because once we go through this process, they're probably not gonna want to see us again for a little while, so. There's, different ways to approach this process, since we are reliant on a state appropriation. Is it? Are we required to design the facility at this time? Because we know we have to go to the state of Minnesota through a legislative session or two in order to make this request and have it funded. I would say with the East Range project, they made their initial request for a state appropriation and did not start design until they were successful in having at least that initial request funded. Recognize they had to go back multiple times after that in order to fully fund the project to their satisfaction. And even at this point, they're still making additional requests to try to hit the affordability thresholds that were initially presented to them. What designing the facility does do is it probably reduces the timeline for implementation. Because at the end of the day, we'll have it certified with the Department of Health. It will be on the funding list for the Public Facilities Authority rather than the intended funding list. And so it will receive additional consideration with regard to allocating that with grant when that $10 million is available. And ultimately, loans are pretty easy to come by with those folks. So at the end of the day, it's mostly the grant that we're worried about. So, the rationale for starting the design at this point is, to be in queue for receiving a significant portion of the grant dollars that we'll be soliciting, but understand that it's not all of the grant dollars. This temporary financing under state statute can be a maximum of 3 years in term, which is what we've structured it at. It can be refinanced one time for an additional 3 years. And so once we borrow this money for design, we're building a water treatment facility of some kind at some point. And so, because ultimately we need to turn that into long-term financing that we can pay back over time, that's hopefully funded with, more than our fair share of grants that would be available through this process. And one way to determine that is again to design the facility and make sure the Department of Health agrees with us with regard to this being the best alternative, the most cost effective, and providing the best water quality. So what we're asking of you this evening isn't to provide the final commitment for that temporary financing in the process. We're making use of a program that we made use of previously, which is the credit enhancement program that's offered by the state of Minnesota through the Public Facilities Authority. Through that program, we pay a $500 fee, and the state provides a limited guarantee to step in and get us for those payments if we don't. And that ultimately enhances the credit quality of this bond that would be issued. And it encourages folks to give us a little bit better interest rate than we'd otherwise be able to achieve if we were just selling this as a general obligation revenue bond. We do nearly as well, but not quite as well. And ultimately, we're here to secure the lowest overall cost of borrowing when we do stuff, and that's what that would accomplish. So, if you choose to approve the resolution, we make application to the Public Facilities Authority. We make them fully aware of the project that we're embarking on. And we ask for them to approve their credit enhancement, being fully understanding what we're about to undertake. And so I think they, I know they understand the gravity of that situation, and that once we borrowed, this kind of money in order to initiate a project that we're gonna follow through and that they're gonna have to be our partner. And that's what they do, particularly on treatment facilities. And so if we had any feedback whatsoever that they weren't on board quite yet, we'd certainly make you aware of that immediately. I don't expect it, you know, ultimately this project is familiar to them. But this certainly puts it on the radar screen, making this application to the state. And so what we would do is once you authorize that application, we'd come back to you likely at the next meeting with a proposal for the financing from the program lender for Minnesota Rural Water Association. So you would see an interest rate that's a commitment from the program lender. And it would be that 3-year term, as I mentioned, with regard to how long can we borrow money on a temporary basis. So it'd be for that 3-year term. That would get us through at least hopefully 2 state appropriation cycles, at which we would hopefully be successful in obtaining that portion that we rely on outside of what the standard programs offer. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions for Shannon?
I feel like we've already committed to this project, obviously, and this is the path we wanna take forward, and we've used you guys plenty of times, trust your opinion, we wanna get the best rate and the best terms we can, so. Yeah, it sounds like the best way to proceed, I don't have any questions at the moment, it's a lot of information, but it seems to be the best path forward.
I would make a motion that we go forward with this.
So we have a motion from Councilor Jarvela to approve resolution 2025-021, approving the issuance of a general obligation water revenue loan.
I'll second that.
We have a second from Councilor Ekman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. All right, thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, and just to be clear here, you haven't issued yet. You have to come back to you with the
Yeah.
proposal. I know the title of the resolution, I just didn't want the public to be misled.
Sure.
All we're doing at this time is applying to the program, and we'll come back to you in short order with the actual proposal for the financing, so.
How long do you think that'll take?
Take to, I'll send the application to Dean tomorrow, that's mostly filled out, he'll send it back to me fairly quickly. And the lender will commit to a rate within 24 hours of that. I've already presented the project.
Yeah, it's not that.
Yeah. Well, it's good to understand the timing for rate commitment, because things are uncertain at different times in this market, but the rate that I've used in the analysis was conservative, meaning it was a bit high compared to what I think ultimately the result will be. And so we should fix that as quickly as we can, so we will. We'll know the interest rate by Thursday of this week. Which is good.
It's the same processing we went through on this road project, right? So, you went really fast, same paperwork.
Yeah,
Are we-
I've already introduced it to the lender, they've looked over your financials, they know who we are and what you do, they've funded both the arena project and the most recent road project financing that we did. They have no concern about working with you folks, so, and they've been an aggressive bidder compared to others lately, so.
So Shannon, you said it's a 3-year term basically, and then like a 3-year balloon, then you can renew it one time?
Yes.
What kind of amortization schedule are we gonna get on that?
What we're doing is we're capitalizing the interest. And it's a very good question, I should have covered that. You're not gonna make an out-of-pocket payment until you have to refinance this thing, so 3 years from now. We borrowed the interim interest payments during this planning process. So ultimately, you can accumulate cash for other needs in the water utility. you're not immediately being a drain on the system. And hopefully, some of these grants that we're applying for will be able to pay that construction this interest. I would suspect that perhaps IRRD and perhaps the state appropriation could pay the interim interest, but we'll have to confirm that, how the legislation's drafted, and talking to those folks, so.
So is it gonna be interest only or no payment whatsoever?
It's, you'll receive $190,000 roughly in proceeds that will sit in the debt service account and make the interest payments. So you'll have to physically make the payment, but you'll have the cash from this financing to make that payment.
We're financing the interest.
Yes,
Yeah, I guess that's what we're doing there.
and it's a typical strategy, but if the council had other wishes and wanted to make interim interest payments, we could change it, but we typically do this because we're hopeful that at least one of the grants we obtain will cover that cost. And if it doesn't, it'll be refinanced as part of our loan, you know, that ultimately funds the project.
And then the affordability, you remember?
Sure.
Talk about that a little bit, about the 3.3 million cap.
Yes, we've done some additional work, to try to determine how big of a loan the state will require you to take on. And ultimately, we have some new debt issued for projects that we will have outstanding and will be part of our, I'll call it an operating cost for lack of a better term, but we'll call it an operating cost that at the end of the day, the state indicates that for a drinking water project, your total monthly bill, the affordability threshold at which their $10 million WIF grant kicks in is $70.58 per month. And I believe Dean indicated you're at about 62, somewhere in that magnitude. And so to hit the affordability level from the state, that's about $8 a month more on an average bill. And at that, you know, plugging in your existing operating costs, recognizing that your staffing levels probably won't change. You know, seeing some savings in chemical costs, but not entirely wiping that out. We believe that when we back into that affordability calculation, that your affordability is for a $3.3 million loan. It was previously estimated higher than that, but we've been working pretty diligently to try to drive that down to as low as possible. So, recognize again, East Range folks had an affordability threshold that they were working towards when they did this initial project. They chose to afford a larger loan because they worked many years to secure quite a number of grants, but they made a decision at some point that ultimately they were gonna take on additional state loans that would put them above their affordability threshold. And that's a decision that the community could be faced with at some point. I didn't think it was you know, an egregious increase. They weren't doubling their affordability threshold or anything of that magnitude, but recognize this is a game of patience and at some point determining when it's right to implement the project. If you take too long, that affordability threshold might go up. And so they may say you can afford $5 million, for example, or $6 million or whatever at that particular time in the future if our median household incomes continue to go up. Because it is based on 1.2% of your median household income is how they calculate what your affordability threshold is. And so at the end of the day, that's how they view the world and how they put their funding together. The case we're making with regard to our state appropriation request is that state of Minnesota, your existing programs don't help us hit our affordability threshold. That's why we need a state appropriation. And when they have public hearings on these requests, the first question they ask you is, are you on the intended use plan with the Public Facilities Authority who are applying to and through this design process? And whether or not you're at the affordability threshold, which you'd certainly be. So you can look them in the eye and say we deserve a state appropriation for this project. It's most cost effective, it's providing the best water quality. And ultimately, we need some additional assistance outside of your program guidelines in order to implement it.
Anybody else on the council, any other questions or points to discuss this man? And then with the motion, is it more appropriate to word it as approval of application to TFA credit enhancement program? Would that be better?
I think that'd be more straightforward, Jim.
I can copy and paste the last one.
What's that?
I can copy and paste the last one. then.
Perfect.
That's good.
Sounds good.
It's the same application.
Oh, all right, thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, man.
Moving on to 11.6, St. Louis County 95% pay request of bid amount for 110 and 665 in the amount of $817,738.82. You mind speaking to this, Steve?
Sure. So this is one ten, it's the 665 project, so it's all the water and sewer lines. We already have the funding in the bank for this project. The contract from St. Louis County is net 35 from date of first invoice. That first invoice was a couple weeks ago, and 35 days, or I don't know when I got the invoice, but even though they really haven't, they just started digging, doing the big part of the project this week. They want their 95% of the full project cost, engineered cost. So that's what that pay request is.
You already have funding
The funding's here for it, yeah, that's not a problem.
project that's been approved already.
It's just a little hard when you haven't seen a whole lot of work done and you're already paying for it, so we're prepaying, but it's just. And I guess I didn't put the contract in there, but you guys signed it last year, and if anybody wants to see it, they'll build in the mailbox either. And whatever. It'll attach. That's what it is.
Any other questions or points to discuss? We will approve the project, we have the funds, so I don't have anything else to discuss in my end. So, asking for a motion to approve the pay request from St. Louis County for the 665 and 110.
Make that motion.
Motion from Councilor Grams, anybody that'd like to second or support that? Second from Councilor Ekman, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.7. Do you mind speaking to this?
Sure.
Dean, for the civic systems?
So this is the civic symposium basically that I'm going to on the end of this week, but the first 2 days of the week, they're doing remote online training for new users. So you have civic since 2023 and nobody's really been formally trained in it. You have the system up and running, but you know, Becky's doing it, Becky does it, Tammy has to do what Tammy does, but so this is the first opportunity to get actual formal training from civics for them, so it's 2 days, full days, so they'll be doing the training here in the offices, but the city office will have to be closed during the time of training. It should be, it's Monday, Tuesday, that week.
All three, are you gonna do that?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's free, there's no charge. It's all online. Instructor led online.
Yeah, I guess with working with any sort of programming system, good to know how to use it, so it definitely be favor of them attending on training, especially if they haven't been formally trained on how to do like financing and payroll and utility billing and all this. Even though they've been cross trained
as well.
right?
Right now, everybody does what they have to do, and so this will be really good for any cross training.
Any other questions or things to chat about regarding that? Hearing none, I'll just ask for a motion to approve the city office being closed September 8th and 9th. So city staff can do the civics training. Motion from Councilor Jarla. Anybody that'd like to second or support that? We have a second from Councilor Ekman. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
So that should add, yeah, we're gonna make sure we get this out plenty in advance, so people know our city offices will go, we put it in the paper on the website, and put a big placard in the window.
Sounds good. Moving on to the last agenda item, 11.8 special budget meeting schedule.
Sam already talked about it, but we're not gonna set dates here, but if you give me some dates, times, you know, however we did last year. Like, maybe not this week or later this week, would be a preliminary one. And then probably one more before, one or two more before at the final, I think. For the levy, so,
And then talking with Betsy too, she mentioned like the campgrounds needing to.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't bring that in here.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we need to get a decision on sooner than
That's
later.
more time sensitive than.
And so we need to. You need to set rates for the campground for next year prior to sending out the application for bid, not bid, but lot. So,
So that can be decided at a special meeting.
yeah, it said that. I think they have to go up in, let's just say first week of September.
I don't know.
I think it was, the last week of August. Either way.
The drawing is in September,
Yeah.
early September. It's usually the lottery drawing.
And I have some thoughts on rates and we can talk about it there, but I think it'll be a short discussion.
Just, yeah, but that piece, that's more time sensitive than the other stuff, but, so yeah, no motions or anything more, so just discussion. So yeah, if folks on the council can look at their schedules and then shoot, Dean and Tammy emails, just letting them know, when they're available for, a special meeting, and I can call back and get everything scheduled, so. Yeah, that is it for that. Moving on to adjournment, is there anybody that'd like to, make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Motion from Councilor Travis, second from Councilor Fairwell, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
Are we able to throw a couple dates for the end of this week right now and